It's just good sleep insurance. The cool part about having a lot of quote unquote smaller accounts is that you don't lose sleep over any renewal. There's definitely a lot of pros to having good diversification, smaller accounts.
Today we're going to talk about, and I know this is something that really has concerned you for the majority of your life, is does size really matter?
We're going to really go
maybe a little bit different context, what I'm talking about than maybe what, you might be concerned about. But we're going to talk about size of accounts and all things that go with that revenue and chasing whales versus, revenue floors and all this stuff and in between. So we're going to talk, does size really matter? But before we do that, one quick shout out. We have gone from like one night stands and just kind of like flirtatious type stuff. And we've gone to a full committed relationship. We now have a title sponsor of the Max Revenue Show podcast, and it is none other than Insurance Xdate. So shout out to those guys. We really appreciate it. We've kind of gone back and forth over the years. We've always plugged their stuff just because we both use it and we both think it's great. And then we've kind of cemented that relationship of late. So shout out to Rob and the boys over there. Do you want to just give a quick plug, like how you found them and how often you use them and like what your take is on their product?
Just to second your point, thank you, Insurance Xdate, for the sponsorship, but we would never have even considered it if it wasn't something we didn't 100% believe in and use on a daily basis. So that's the cool thing about it. Is like, I don't feel like I have to compromise any values or beliefs or principles to sponsor some type of, weird product that I never used or anything like that, or can't get behind 1000%. So, I mean, honestly, Insurance Xdate for me is kind of like oxygen, dude. I couldn't make the calls I do. I wouldn't have probably as nearly any of the success I have without using it. It just makes life so easy. It's going on there. And it depends on your state, right? Which we've always been totally honest about.
Micah first introduced me to Insurance Xdate, I don't know, probably about 5 years ago. And they actually did not have it in Louisiana at the time where I am, but they have since opened it up and the data is pretty dang good. I wouldn't say it's as good as Texas, but I mean, I use it every day. No brainer. So again, don't want to plug it too much. They're going to be the title sponsor moving forward. And so, yeah, we just shout out to Rob and the boys. We really appreciate you. So let's get into it. Micah, the question of the day and the question of your life, does size really matter? We're talking about this before we got on the call. You were talking about a conversation that you had with one of your buddies. Also, like what you've experienced in the last month, closing 7 clients. This theme kind of came up in our conversation about the size of prospects and clients. And so we said, you know what, let's tackle that today. So tell the story about your buddy and then tell the story about your last couple of months and what you were telling me about 7 clients in 40 days.
Yeah, man. So my friend, he killed it year one at an agency. I was real happy for him. One of the things that I think we had talked about, I was like, that's awesome. Just now keep your foot on the gas because that's year one, but year 2, you never know what could happen. Right. And now you have a lot of eggs in one basket. So you got to make sure those renewals go smooth, etc. Anyways, we were just catching up the other day, hadn't talked in several months. And he was like, and just to give you some background, his first year landed 2 really, really nice accounts, several hundred in revenue, like dream accounts, right? Well, just chatting the other day and he was like, I'm not doing so hot right now. My 2 largest accounts are in the process of being sold. So there you go. Nothing to no fault of his own, totally out of his control. Stuff happens, and that happens to all of us. I've had clients sell. We've all had it happen, but that kind of sucks really bad in year 2 to have your 2 biggest deals be up for sale. That's a gut punch for sure. And just a really good reminder to keep your foot on the gas. Don't stop prospecting. Even if you think you've quote unquote made it, things change. That's all there is to, that's the only reality in life is just change. So it was interesting because at the same time he's telling me this, I'm having a really, solid month or whatever here. I've written like 7 deals, but I'm kind of like, I don't feel that happy. I don't feel miserable, and I'm definitely grateful. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I appreciate the wins, but it's like the first couple were cool after the drought. And then I'm looking back, I'm like, man, I just wrapped up like 7 new clients in 40 days and maybe 30 days. I think it's been like the last less than 30 days, 7 clients, and they're all total revenue is like about 100K combined, right? Maybe a little bit more because it's about 15. It's not, because two of them were referral. One was a referral. One was like a LinkedIn deal. But those ended up being about 5 to 6K of revenue each. So it wasn't like I was targeting that, but hey, I was happy to get those. And then the other 5 were like all wins that were like 15,000, to 16,000 in revenue, right? And that's like, they're all in that range. And it's just interesting because last year at the same time, I had my best year ever, and I had like 2 wins right now that were each 70K. So 140K in revenue made up of 2 clients. This year I have 7 in the same time frame, kind of similar to last year. This year I have 7 making up, just over 100 or somewhere in that range. I don't even no, so it's a mind game, and I'm the hard part for me is that it's not hard. It's just I've always been someone who does appreciate the diversification and the smaller size deals. Like I've never been like a whale hunter. Yeah, we all like to get the big 6-figure win or the 50 to 100K size revenue wins plus, and I've closed those. But I've always have appreciated the 10, 15, 20s. I would say now though, it's like as I'm getting older and having more success and my book's growing up, I just want those 10s to 15 ranges to be more like 20 to 25s. So I want my floor to start moving up. That's kind of what I want to start doing, because my floor really had been about 10K of revenue is kind of what I was in my mind thinking. But now what's happening is my account manager is extremely busy. She's busy. I get busy. And then it's like, okay, what's the best return for my time? So now I'm at the point where it's like, okay, let's raise the floor a little bit again. Now, it doesn't mean I walk away. Just like this month, I didn't walk away from the 2 6K deals. People needed help. They were easy, slam dunk, boom. So it's like, I'm not going to walk away from that stuff, but now it just starts with a mindset to go after, instead of, like, for me, I use Insurance Xdate, like we talked about, to set my floor. So every state's different with Insurance Xdate. So go talk to them if you're interested in it. But for me, or in my state in particular, they have premium is one of the filters that you can use. And so I start with a premium of work comp of 20,000 premium, because in Texas, work comp's a super cheap line of business. Anyways, it's usually auto, GL, umbrella are kind of making up everything. I've always started there, and it's been a pretty good indicator that people are going to at least be paying. It's at least be about 10,000 in revenue in commissions if they're paying at least 20K or more for work comp. So now for me, I maybe have to go up to 30. Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking, or just be more selective when I'm calling a little bit. But yeah, so that's kind of the whole size thing. It's funny. There's a guy in my agency that's killed it just writing like the 20 to 30K revenue deals. And he's in his 70s now, but he built his whole book on that. And, it's just good sleep insurance. That's for sure. Like, you just don't get the cool part about having a lot of quote unquote smaller accounts is that you don't lose sleep over any renewal. I mean, you still want to do your best. It doesn't mean I'm just like, I don't care if people stay with me or not, but it's just like, you just don't have that whole level of like fear going into the renewal. Like anytime they call you or anytime there's like a minor issue, you're freaking out, like we all do on our largest accounts. So there's definitely a lot of pros to having good diversification, smaller accounts. Yeah, I just think one of the downsides is then the service that comes with it, and you probably need more staff, and you're just kind of a little bit busier. So there's pros and cons to each.
If you're a guy like you that's trying to build a $2, $3, $4, $5 million book, then those, you only have a certain number of clubs in the bag, right? So that the size matters. And then let's say somebody like myself, I'm not trying to write that much. I'm just trying to get to like $1 million, or shoot, somebody could even just be trying to get to 500,000, so then that, 40 to 80 client range, being mid-market guy, then that threshold kind of changes, so maybe that's like a floor of 5K in revenue. Yep. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think is, I guess what I'm saying is it's all kind of relative to the size book that you want and what your end goals are, like your girl, Madison Baker, who's, trying to build a big book. I mean, her clients, she writes a couple $100,000 a year, right? And so the size of her clients are that much bigger. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to build $1 million book in a smaller market of, mom and pop blue collar stuff. And so I kind of set my floor at 5. What's your take on that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know her, but yeah, to your point, apparently it sounds like she writes a lot bigger accounts than you write. Right. So that's the part of the problem. If you compare yourself to another producer as well, it's like, it's all kind of relative to what do you want? What's your goal, right? What size of book are you getting? And also what's your splits? If you're at Marsh, your split's 25%. If you're at your agency, it's roughly 50%, And so you compare yourself to a producer at Marsh, they got to have a $2 million book to make what you make on $1 million book, right? Now, side note, maybe if you're listening to this and wondering, should I work for a big agency or a small agency? I mean, I think there's a lot of pros to working for a smaller agency, an agency that gives you higher splits, and for this very reason, because there's only so much you can really do. So yeah, man.
If I'm at let's say I'm at a smaller mid-market shop and I don't really have a minimum floor, like they've given me no size restrictions. I'm a couple years in, I've got a few 100,000 under the belt, but I'm trying to really be like a legit mid-market producer. I've got the markets, whatever. I'm trying to get away from some of the personal lines or the smaller commercial referrals. And I'm just like, I want to do what Micah does. I want to focus on just mid-market. Give me your take on how I should go about setting my parameters of who I'm looking for, what's my minimum floor, what's too big, like what do I need to know?
Yeah, I think a couple things. Well, every region is going to be different, but this is one of the important things about having a niche is that it allows you to kind of quickly assess also the size of prospects, right? I get that a lot of times, like, how do you know how big these prospects are? I waste my time. It's like when you niche down, you start to just know, right? So for like quick example, like if I call a dirt contractor in Texas, even though I know if the work comp premium is 18, 20 grand, I know it's probably 15. It could easily be 15 in revenue. If they're doing about 5 to 6 million in revenue, you just quickly know that and you can kind of see it and you just have that gut feeling. That's one thing. I mean, use tools as much as you can. I mean, I use Insurance Xdate. You can use Zoom Info for data collection, but you got to figure out based on my niche now, what parameters do I need to search by? And that's really what it comes down to. Man, it's weird. I don't want to limit people, like limit your thinking. Like I can't call them big shops because I'm or big prospects because I'm at a small shop and I'll be competing against big guys. That's not what we're saying. Definitely. That's why I'm more of a fan of setting a floor and then just kind of working all the prospects that are from there on up. I don't set ceilings necessarily. Now I do, there's probably like I'm not calling an Exxon Mobil or something like that. That'd just be, for me, I just know it'd be silly. Now, if you're out there listening and you want to do that, go for it. But I would probably say it's not very, very wise. So here's the deal. There's so many underserved clients in the, let's just call it less than 30,000 in revenue space. So people paying, if they're standard market, 200,000 in premium or less. And especially if you get to like the 150 to like, I feel like 75K premium size, like that size, there's so much just lack of service from the agents there that I don't know, just if you can write those and you could service somewhat fine and you got a process down and they're good people, why not keep scooping them up, and then just keep growing that way. So, and that was a big reason also I get asked a lot, like, hey, why'd you leave, your former agency? And I just had written a lot of my accounts. I think my average size account was like 18,000 in revenue, when I had left. Of course, I had the couple 4 or 5 big, 100K deals, 75K deals. But then if I start to look at the rest of it and take all those out, it was like a lot of like 17 to 20K. And so that was one of the deciding factors for me leaving, because I was like, man, I'm not making that much money on those accounts. But also all these people really care about, they don't need all the bells and the whistles and the resources. They just really care about, like, do I have someone that cares about my business and that I can talk to and that does a good job serving me afterwards, and that they actually care about my renewal too. Like they communicate with me ahead of time. They actually take it on proactively and really fight for me. And that's what those people care about. And so I was like, man, that's what those people care about. Why would I not? So that was a big reason for me once I kind of saw that writing on the wall of like, okay, it's okay to leave. I don't need to be at a big shop. I'm fine. There's a bunch of these companies at this size that I can go right at a smaller agency. And now you might be listening to this if you're writing 4 to 5K revenue deals, and hopefully it's encouraging to you to be like, okay, you don't need to go up to the 50 to 100K revenue size deals, but maybe just go up to the 10, 15, 20 size K deals, revenue I'm talking. So if you've always written 50,000 in premium and that's where you stay, go up to 150. It's not different. I mean, it doesn't really even get different until you get to like $1 million plus. So it's like you and I have both worked at big shops. Like we've written accounts that are big. It doesn't really get a whole lot different. I mean, it's kind of wild. But it's like we have these barriers in our mind that we put up that make us feel like there's some reason I can't call on those size of accounts, or they're getting served amazingly. Of course, there's a lot more competition. You get into that $500,000 to $1 million range for sure, but doesn't mean that complacency.
Are you talking about in revenue or premium?
That's premium.
Okay, yeah.
500. Yeah.
I definitely have never, biggest I've ever written is 70 in revenue.
Yeah. I go back and forth on our call. Like, and what I just go backwards for a second. You asked, am I talking premium or revenue? I was talking both. When I was saying 500 to $1 million, though, that was premium, not revenue.
I put a post up about this the other day on LinkedIn, just encouraging people to go bigger. We've talked about on the lower end of the revenue scale here. Now I want to move it to the other side of the upper end. And in that post, I just basically said that you'd be surprised at how many people are being underserved up there too. You think that just because they are big, that they are being taken care of, or even that they're with a big shop that you can't compete with. I don't want to give away any specifics, but I've got a buddy of mine who's working 80 to 100 revenue account right now, and they're with a little one-man shop, and they're in construction, and they've never been approached about a captive. And it's like, what? And the thing is, dude, this company, I've seen their logos on billboards, on trucks since I got into this business for 7 years. They've been around for 25 years. And they just were always super loyal with this little one-man commercial shop who I guess used aggregates to get to these other markets. Dude, I would have bet you $1 million they were with, some practice leader at Gallagher or something. You know what I mean? But nope, they weren't. And so he used a referral. Not a referral. He used another client to get it back into the door, and it's like 80 in revenue.
Nice.
Just
good for him.
Sitting. He got a bad renewal last year, and willing to talk. And then it's just crazy. It's not. I'm not sitting here saying that everything's like that, but I'm just saying it will surprise you in some of these bigger accounts. So I mean, I'm not personally going to go chase some Fortune 1000 or Fortune 5000 company, but a bigger blue collar business like that you probably think is taken care of. I think it's worth a call. Yeah,
no, 100%. You can't assume. That'd be another good thing to start keeping track of when you're making cold calls too, is like, if you ever get whispers of like who's with what account, what agency, or if there's prospects and you have 100 prospects you're calling or whatever, and that like 20 of them are with a real small agency. Well, maybe, I'm talking like mom and pop, tiny agency. Well, maybe that target those a little bit more, right? Or you hear they just sold out. Now you have something to target. But that would also be something to ask underwriters too, is like, hey, I'm looking at this account. Like, have you ever seen it? Oh no, I heard it's with this agency, right? And then keep those notes in your CRM. That's the other thing, is like, just so you can quickly search if you're ever trying to do a targeted approach, and you're trying to pick off accounts that are with a certain agency. That's a good use of a CRM field.
Last question for you here regarding size and insurance and all that. What do you think, if you have one good account exec, what do you think, if you're a true mid-market producer, what do you think is the most accounts you can reasonably work and renew and take care of?
Number of accounts? That's tricky. Then it's there's some factors, man. It depends on industry. Construction is so different than manufacturing, So like, I'm going to answer for construction because that's what I do. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty much kind of getting there at that point right now with my one person, and I probably have roughly. She's not on all my clients, but I think she's on like roughly like 35 to 40-ish of them. But it depends how busy. I have some.
So if I'm doing my math right, you've written 50 deals in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, that'd be close, very close. I could give you an exact number here.
Let's just leave it there because I don't want to feel any worse about myself.
Well, dude, there's guys who write 18 to 20K deals a year, 18 to 20 deals a year, man.
Yeah, that's not me. I'm good for about like a half a dozen.
Yeah, and that's. Like you said, dude, you should never feel like I don't know, man. It's just, I think if you go out there and do the same things every single day and you stay consistent, like, you're just going to probably get into like at least 6. You're probably going to win 6 deals a year, at least. I think should be a quote unquote bad year. And then a good year could be 10, 12, 15, 20K, 20, I keep saying K deals. I've never done 20, but I think I've done 15-ish, 16.
Let's talk about speaking of size, let's talk about the size of your score compared to par yesterday and the size of my score compared to par, and just compare the two. So my previous round, I went below 80 for the second time in my life, shot a 79er. I believe you had a good round as well. And also you play considerably less than me. So shout out Micah, 84, having not played in like 6 months. So well done. I think you started your round with a quad and a double. So to eke out an 84 after that is like, I mean, that's pretty incredible. So kudos to you. Your golf herpes seem to be in full flare.
Yeah, I was excited. All praise and glory to Jim Veneto's Golf. And maybe that's our next sponsor. They don't compete at all, right?
I wonder who we've driven more business to, honestly. Insurance Xdate or Jim Veneto's? Yeah. It's probably close, because I know you get messages all the time that are like, what's this Jim Veneto's? Because, you got a bunch of mid-market producers out there that are 15, 20 handicaps, and they just need a swing that they can like wrap their teeth around, and that's it. If you don't play and you're, not very coordinated and unathletic like Micah, you really need a swing system like that.
Dude, I haven't played since, like October 28th. And been to the range maybe I'd say 5 times since then. Show up yesterday, no warm-up balls, nothing. Just had to drive right up to the hole and boom, started playing. So the first 3, 4, dude, even the first 5 holes was just like the chipping. I never chip and putt. My putting was amazing. Jim Venetos also has a unique putting method, so go check that out too. But dude, was nailing putts. It was just fun. I had a blast, man. So now
good for you. You've earned it. You've written a shitload of business. You deserve it.
I do what I learned, and I posted this on YouTube yesterday. I was like, what I learned is that from yesterday is never go 6.5 months without golfing again. Way too long. Life's too short. So, and it wasn't because I was like, I gotta grind. It just, life just gets busy, man. It wasn't even about like I can't play golf. Like that never what it was about. It just kind of started to the months go fast, right? And so, anyways, I had a blast. It was fun. And if you are a producer out there, go have fun, man. Like that was one of my favorite pieces of advice that one of my trainers gave me way back in the day when I got into this, before I even got into the field and sold anything. He said, sometimes you just got to go to the movies. That was his thing. He'd have a terrible day, or if it was a win or a bad day, he'd just go catch a matinee at 11 a.m., grab a big bucket of popcorn, chill out, watch a movie, and then get back at it.
That's awesome. I think that's great.
Having the fun. Yeah, it is. It's important.
All right, well, let's end it there. Again, big shout out to Rob and the boys at Insurance Xdate. We appreciate it. Look forward to a long-term partnership here. They are the title sponsor of the Max Revenue Show, and I'm going to throw them on the Max Revenue letter as well. So, just really appreciate those guys. Been talking to them for a while. Love their product. Go check it out. Link to Insurance Xdate in the show notes. Also, the link to our producer playbook, which is basically Micah's playbook, step-by-step for building $1 million book of business from scratch. He has now done that not once, but twice at 2 separate agencies. So if you want to know exactly what he does step-by-step, that's your Huckleberry. And then I write a newsletter comes out every Monday, which is basically just a remix of this podcast. And so, if you want to go check that out, I have a little entertaining infotainment in your email inbox. Go check that out as well. All 3 will be in the show notes, and we appreciate you listening. We know you got a lot of stuff to do and a lot of irons in the fire. And so the fact that you take 20 minutes to listen to 2 idiots talk about insurance and their golf herpes, we appreciate it.